Welcome back, darlings, to another video with me. Today I actually decided that I wanted to do a book tag because I haven't really done any this year, but I also wanted to do it to see where I am at the end of the year, because this book tag is called End of the Year book tag, and it's questions that's about how many books I have left to read, if I have any specific books in mind for the end of the year, how I'm doing on my TBR. So it's a little bit of summary of where I'm lying on my goals for reading to the end of the year. And I will leave the questions in the comment section, so if you want to answer them as well and see how you're doing, I would love to read them and see what you're planning for the end of the year with your book reading. So without further ado, let's go into the first question. Are there any books you started this year you need to finish? And I am guilty of this one. I usually don't start books and don't finish them. Usually I DNF them, that I don't finish them at all, and I put them away and I will not finish them. Or I finish them and then pick up a new book. I usually don't read multiple books at the same time, but I started Dante's Divine Comedy a few months ago, and I finished Inferno, and that means there's 2 parts left, and that's Purgatory and Paradise, and I have not started them yet. I felt like this book was... I loved it. I genuinely like it, and it's not that it's bad or anything, but I felt like it was a lot of work to get through it, because there was like a lot of symbols and a lot of names, or a lot of stories that was referred to in the Divine Comedy that I did not know of. So I felt like I needed to do a lot of research at the same time as I was reading it to fully understand it. So part of me felt like I was studying, which is wonderful because I learned a lot while reading Inferno, as well as I enjoyed the story. But I felt like I wanted something easier to read in between, and after that I just didn't pick it up again. And I know Dante's Divine Comedy is more like a serial name of the 3 books, because it's technically 3 books or 3 parts of it. So you could say I finished Inferno and I have 2 books left in the series, but for me it feels like I haven't finished the total one. If I will finish it to the end of the year, I don't think so. I have a lot of other things to read right now, and I know that it will take me a lot of energy and a lot of things to get through both Purgatory and the Paradise, just like it did with Inferno. So I feel like I will most likely wait and maybe go through them in January, February in the next year. For the next few months to the end of the year, I have other books I really want to get through. So I'm putting this book on ice until better days. I want to be very specific in saying it's not because it's bad. It's because it takes more brain than I have at the moment to finish it. So don't worry, I will finish it, and I will do an analysis on all 3 parts in one video, and that's why I haven't done one on Inferno yet. So if you guys just wait, next year we will have a video on that one. Second question we have is, do you have an autumn or spring themed book to transition into the end of the year? And I'm not a seasonal or themed reading person, so during Halloween, for example, I don't read more horror books than I do the rest of the year. During Christmas, I don't really read Christmas books. I would love to be that kind of person, but I really am not that kind of person. When I'm going to pick up a book, I follow my heart, I follow my mood, and I follow what I feel like doing at this moment. And usually it doesn't come with seasons or themes, sadly. but I do have a couple of books this year that I think is a little bit more towards winter themes, but they are not Christmas stories per se. But I do have a few books that I really want to read. One of them being Little Women. I think that has a little bit of a winter-ish feeling to it. If not, it's set during winter. It doesn't really have Christmas to it, but we will see. We will see. Maybe it ends up with me picking up a Christmas book in just because, but I don't think so. I'm more of a mood reader, so to speak, so probably not for me. Third question we have is there a new release you're still waiting for? And I don't think so. I don't usually tend to read new releases. This year I've been very focused on books I already have bought and I want to finish, so my physical TBR, so to speak, that I have in my bookcase. But also I've been reading a lot of classical books more than usual, and you know, the good thing about reading classics is you don't have to wait for a release to come because it's already out. Working in a library, I do see all the new releases coming all the time, and I do have my eyes on them. But for some reason this year, I just felt like I have not been in the mood to read any of the new books that's coming out. There is a couple of Swedish non-fictional books that I'm really interested in picking up. They are out. They were coming out in September and I was waiting for them in like July, but they came out in September. So, but I still haven't picked them up yet because I haven't been in the mood for any non-fictional books in a while. So that's a problem. But I'm not really waiting for a new release, really, and it's very rare for me to wait for releases as well, so it doesn't really surprise me on this question. The fourth question we have is, what 3 books do you want to read before the end of the year? And I actually have 3 books that I'm really like, other books I can like, okay, if I read them as well, but these 3 books are like the 3 books that I feel like at least let me finish these ones. And it's Picture of Dorian Gray. I heard a lot of good things about this. It's gothic. I had my eye on it for a long time. I bought my physical copy 3 years ago, and I've been planning on reading Picture of Dorian Gray for so long. And I feel like I know the book will probably be in my taste and I will probably love it. And it will probably be a new favorite for me. But I don't know why I never picked it up. But I've told myself before the end of the year, I will read this book. We also have Little Women. My thoughts is I will read this for December. I've been also thinking about reading this for a very long time. I know it's the first book in a series of 3. I will most likely only read the first one, and then we will see in the beginning of next year if I read the remaining 2 in the series. I think I will enjoy it. I have actually seen the movie adaptation to this, both the new and the old one, and I really liked it. And so I'm interested in seeing how the book is, and usually I don't see the adaptations before I read the book. This was a little bit of a special case. So we will see how I find it. The third one is Phantom of the Opera. One of my book friends on Goodreads, she's a huge fan of Phantom of the Opera and she talks about this book all the time. I've actually seen the adaptation to this book as well, and I have also seen the musical for it, and I love Phantom of the Opera. I love the music of Phantom of the Opera. I did not actually know for a very long time Phantom of the Opera is based on a book, but she told me a few years ago that it's a book and it's her all-time favorite classical book, and she said, you need to read it because it's that good. So I bought a physical copy 2 years ago, I think, 1.5 years ago, something like that. It's in a collection of different gothic tales. and I told myself I need to read it, but it never happened. So I told myself that this is the year, and I still haven't picked it up yet, but I'm telling myself before the year ends I will have read it. I will have read all these 3 books, and if I haven't, I will scold myself and be very unhappy with myself. But I know for a fact I can finish this before the end of the year. I just have to not look at other books and get tempted by other books, which can be very hard considering I'm a mood reader and I pick up whatever I feel in the mood for. But I will try to just look at these 3 books and just pick them up, even if I feel like something else. So that's my plan. The 5th question we have is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite? And I would say Picture of the Dorian Gray. It wouldn't shock me if I like it, because I've heard so much about it, and I also seen a lot of analyzing videos on it. And I feel like I probably know the story already without having read the book. So I will not be shocked, considering I love the analyzing parts of it. I love all the summaries about it, and I think for a fact that it's going to be one of my favorite books. Something that did shock me, I'm halfway through right now reading Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, and that one shocked me so much. I have not finished it yet, but I am so in love with the way Victor Hugo is telling the story that even the parts where you think is going to be boring is just, it's amazing. I'm so in love with this book that I can't even describe it. I love every part of it, and I just feel like I want to read all the time. So if it's something that shocks me, it's probably that I like this book. Not because I didn't think I would like the themes, because I love the musical and I love the theme and the summary of the story, but I was so certain that Les Miserables was written in a very boring way, or in a way that was going to be slow and non-eventful. And some parts sure are, but they are still so beautifully detailed in a way that I'm just going like, like I love it so much. I can't like explain it. It's probably one of my favorite reads of the year so far, and that book shocked me, legit shocked me. And the last question we have you already started making reading plans for next year? And the thing with me that I started last year is we do not do reading plans at all. Like, I can decide that I want to maybe read more classic books, or I want to maybe try to dibble my toes into more philosophical literature like Plato or whatever. But I will not do a plan where I'm listing books what to read this month or what I should read next year or whatever, because I do read after mood, but I also feel like if I don't follow through on my plans, I will feel very, very disappointed in myself, or I will feel extremely restricted, and that will take the fun out of reading for me. I just want reading to be fun. I want to pick up the book I want to feel like. I want to do whatever I want to do. I want to read whatever I want to read. I don't want to have to feel like, I'm going to manage to read 400 books this year, or I want to just read fantasy, or I just want to read this, or I want to dabble my feet in that. I want it to be so open as possible, and just whatever I feel like doing, I will do. One plan that I do have that I had for this year is that I want to keep reading slow. And I say this to a lot of people, that for many years I read a lot. I felt like you needed to read a lot. I did not read a lot because of Booktube and, keeping up with other people. I read a lot because I felt it was needed of me for my work as a librarian, but I felt like I didn't get quality. I read the books and I know kinda what they are about, and all that. And you can do that maybe with like new fiction books, but you can't do that when it comes to older literature, where you maybe need to actually look at all the details and consider what does this mean, and look at all the references around it. And maybe that's why I'm reading more classical now, because I want to slow down. I want to read more quality instead of quantity. And before it was just like, oh, I will do 400 books, or I will do 500 books, or, you know. And now I just feel like I don't mind if a book takes me 1 week or 2 weeks. And I enjoy experiencing the books. And it's like, you know, you have a really, really good caramel or candy or lollipop, and you don't want it to end, and you just suck on it forever. That's kind of how I feel with the books right now. I don't want them to end, and I want to enjoy them as long as possible. And with that, I don't mean that I will maybe, you know, read 1 book a month, because still I am a very fast reader. And before, I maybe read 3 or 4 books a day. And I had issues, yes, I know. Don't cut my head off. Now maybe I can go through 1 book in 2-3 days, and for me that's a big change. I feel like I love reading more now than I did when I read a lot of books. I feel like I can appreciate reading now, and I feel like it's a calm, enjoying reading. So my only plan for next year is to continue to read slow and read whatever you feel like reading. I want to keep loving reading, and I want to have that love for reading for a long time. And to have that, I don't want it to make it restricted, and I don't want it to feel like a job or something I have to do. And I know I work with books, with being a librarian, and sometimes before, when I read a lot, I felt like I read all these genres that I didn't like, but I felt like I needed to read them. And I read a lot of books because I felt like I needed to be up to date with all the books. Even books I didn't like, I had to read them so I could recommend them. And it was good. It was good because I read a lot and I could recommend a lot. But I started hating books. And reading at home felt like working. I felt like, you know, I worked at the library all day, and then I came home and I read books I didn't like because it could be useful for my work, you know? And now I feel like I work, then I stop work, and I come home and I read stuff that's for me, and I read stuff that I enjoy, and I read stuff that makes me happy and that will fulfill my life. And that's nice. So this year and next year I will do the exactly same thing, and I will be happy in my reading. And that's actually all the 6 questions, and I hope you enjoyed them and enjoyed my rambling about the end of the year. It's not really anything new maybe for you guys who usually talk books with me, and it is what it is, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!